Well, welcome everyone. My name is Professor Mike Emanuel from Northwestern Connecticut Community College, and I'm introducing you into a video about the criminal justice practicum at Northwestern's criminal justice program. It's commonly known or referred to as the internship. And for my students that are signed up or going to sign up for the fall of 2019, although you could probably use this video for coming years, there's a few things we have to go over. This is a manual that I'm going to put on Blackboard. It's let's see, it's a total of 37 pages, but don't be overwhelmed by it because we're going to go over the highlights of it, and a lot of it has evaluations and different things, and course overviews and objectives. So let's get started. All right, what's this all about? What do I have to do? Why get involved? Let's spend 2 minutes on this. First of all, let's talk about what the practicum is or the internship is. So what you have to think about is you're in a criminal justice program. So what is it that you would like to do? Would you like to be a police officer? Well, then you'll most likely try on the police officer's shoes, so to speak. See if you like it. You want to be a detective, a dispatcher, eventually maybe a canine or SWAT person. You have to be a police officer first. So the whole thing is you want to become a police officer, so do an internship with the police department of your choice. And it could be anything that you want. I've had some students move up to the Boston area, and they're going to be doing their internship with a police department there. Others that have done it with Torrington, State Police, and so forth. So that's the police part of it. If it's something where you kind of want to help people or go into the probation part of it, you can apply for the state of Connecticut internship. It's called experiential learning, and I can get you the website and all that. But for this year, this is 2019, you must apply. The first date that you can apply electronically, and that's the only way they'll accept it for the state of Connecticut, is July 1st, 2019. Now, I'm doing this video in May of 2019 because you have to get your internship established, meaning you got to find a place. For example, if you wanted to go with the Torrington Police Department where I used to work, then you can apply to Torrington Police, but I can tell you that they only take one per semester, and the fall semester is already taken up. So you kind of got to act quickly. That's why I'm kind of on top of all of my students here to say, let's think about what we want to do, apply, and if you can get something, let's lock it in, and we'll get the paperwork done afterwards. I've always told many of you that. So anyway, let's get back to the basics here. What do you need? You don't need to come to class. All right, so you're probably saying, yay, no class. However, you do need to put in 120 hours of unpaid work at, again, the organization of your choice. Police department, probation department, parole, corrections opportunities. I'm going to run down some of the list here. Connecticut Junior Republic we had. Some people work there. All the court system, and that's where the state of Connecticut experiential learning, you have to apply for that. All court systems, probation, that goes through them. If you wanted to go with the state police, then you would go to the barrack and see if they would accept you as a candidate. Same thing with Winsted Police, Thompson Police, Waterbury Police, etc., etc. If you wanted to become and try out the shoe for a victim's advocate, so to speak, we have Susan B. Anthony, and that's, I'm going to decline that phone call. Sorry, Zach. We have Susan B. Anthony in Torrington, who you can do the victim's advocate, so you would do a training session there and start to learn about that part of it. The whole point of this project, which is basically your capstone, your best work, is that you're going to see if you like it. We've had a few students that have taken an opportunity to try it on. Some didn't like it. 90 to 95%, if not higher, love it. They try on the shoe and then they go after the career. But the point is you're not going to be wasting the rest of your life, so to speak, or career on something that doesn't work. So try it out. We've had also people work for Homeland Security. We had people working with the Fire Marshal's office under the auspices of Homeland Security. Security jobs overall, if that's what you want to do, I would say, raise the bar, give it a shot, and go for it. Most of the local police departments, I'll know the contacts there. So if you say, hey, I want to go here, I want to go to Canton, Avon, Farmington, that's a really good police department to work with. If you're willing to drive, then we'll try to make it happen. Corrections, we had one student several years ago. I've told a lot of students about this, who actually has been inside Garner once a week for 15 weeks. So let's talk about that real quick. And so you need 120 hours, as I said, right? So the 120 hours, if you look at it this way, there's 15 weeks in a semester. This fall semester of 2019 starts on, I believe, Tuesday, August 27th. If you start that week, you will end on the final exam week, which is the second week of December. And I'll get into the deadlines. So anyway, 15 weeks, if you put in 8 hours a week at your establishment, at your organization, then you have your 120 hours. 15 weeks times 8 hours a week is 120 hours. So boom, it's done. Having said that, if you, let's say you wanted to go with Litchfield County Dispatch, and your schedule and their schedule worked where you wanted to do 8 hours on a Saturday and 8 hours on a Sunday, and you know, you're banging out these hours, 16 hours, you would do it in half the time. I wouldn't recommend that, but I'm just saying if your schedule doesn't allow it, I'm pretty flexible as long as they're flexible. And remember that you're the guest. All right, so I want you to pull this out. And where are you going to find this? Well, at the moment, I'm going to be putting it in the fall Criminal Justice Practicum syllabus. This is going to be the syllabus, this 37-page document. But I'm also going to put it into some of the, actually all of the courses if you're taking spring courses of this year. I can also email it to you. What I'm going to try to do, like I said before, is put this on YouTube. So normally we do this type of thing where I get you in and I go over these things, and it takes about 90 minutes. Hopefully this won't go that long, but we'll see what happens. So anyway, pull out the manual, and you're going to see this is the first page of the field manual. So that's page 1. Page 2 is going to talk about non-discrimination disclosure statement. You can read that at another time. Page 3 is basically blank. It says curriculum manual. Page 4 is going to be basically a table of contents. You can see that. And then page 5, it says a message from me, and I'm the Criminal Justice Program Coordinator. So if you didn't know this, if you're a criminal justice student at Northwestern in Winsted, Connecticut, I'm your advisor. Yay. So basically what it says, I won't read it word for word, is, listen, this is your capstone project, number 1. Number 2, it's 120 hours that you have to put in. There's no class time, but you do have to do work every week and putting in entries of what you learned in reflection pieces, which I'll get into. This is one of your final criminal justice courses. For some, it might come in a little early, but I want your best work here. And like it says here, no excuses. You are going to be representing 3 different entities. You're going to be representing yourself at the organization. You're going to represent the school at the organization. Let's say it's a police department, and me, of course. All right, so kind of make us proud. Do your part. Be respectful, and dress the part and act the part. Be the professional that I know that you are and can be if you're not yet. But if you're taking this, I already know that you're gung ho and you're moving forward with it. So that covers page 5. On page 6, it talks about one important thing that sometimes students forget after I go through all this stuff. You need to register for the course. I've had one student, just one, and luckily we were able to catch up with it, but it caused a lot of problem. They went through the whole internship, and I didn't catch it that they didn't register for it, and they had come time to graduate, they couldn't graduate. So you have to register and pay for the course, because this is a 3-credit course. It looks like only 2 with the camera here, so that's 3. And it's going to be all on Blackboard. We formally really won't meet. However, having said that, I'll need your midterm evaluations, your final evaluations, and final paper. So I'm available for you pretty much anytime. You just got to get a hold of me. So this is your known as your internship, and this is you need to register for it, and we're going to be going by Blackboard. Okay, and we're still on page 6. All right, you need to have at least a 2.0, which most of you have. If you don't, we need to bring that up. And basically, when you go to look for these agencies, you can knock on doors, you can make phone calls, you can send a letter to the agency, you send an email. You know how to get out there and do it. And just go ahead and let's start grabbing these internships and have a plan A, B, and C. You'll be hearing a lot of that from me. And plan A is, let's say you wanted to go with probation and you put in for probation, but for whatever reason, maybe you didn't make the cutoff in time. The plan B might be state police. Plan C might be Susan B. Anthony. But keep that in the back of your mind to have a backup plan. And many times there's a personal interview where you got to discuss what's going on, talk about your time schedules, and that's between you and the organization. You just let me know when the schedules are done and if you landed it, and visit the organization or the agency. The assignment is not automatic. It's up to you to land it. All right, on to page 7. Course requirements, page 7. Again, you're required to do 120 hours. There's something in there that says some have 4-hour blocks. If you're going with a police department, I just want to warn you that you should not do it. You must coincide with the beginning of shift, not once the shift has begun. For example, if the shift comes on at 8 o'clock, you should try to schedule it from 8 o'clock in the morning until, let's say, 12 noon if you want a 4-hour block. Don't schedule it from 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock, because what happens is officers go out on calls and chances are you might get stuck in the lobby. We could talk more about that once you get started. All right. Let's say you've landed your agency, whether it be probation or police department. So again, I'm just going to stick with the example of the police department. So the police department, you work there from, let's say, 8 a.m. to 12 noon, like I said, on a Monday. So the next day, Tuesday, you have to go into Blackboard and you basically have to write an essay or a reflection piece on what you did. Now, a little bit about this. You're not going to be putting in, you can put in officers' names. Obviously, I'm going to know it's you. The only one who's going to read it is myself and you, the student. So for that understanding of it, whenever you deal with victims' names, suspects' names, you don't put it in the report. You just refer to them as a young male or a middle-aged person or an elderly female, something along those lines. No addresses, no identity. When you go into these agencies, no matter what they are, you're going to be signing confidentiality agreements. And so you got to be confidential. You can't, see, let's say, a dead body or a robbery that's going on, or somebody gets arrested for drugs or a stop, and you can't come home to your family or, your spouse, your loved one, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, and say, hey, you know what happened tonight? So-and-so got arrested. If they see it in the paper, that's one thing. Or especially worse than that is someone gets victimized, like a sexual assault or domestic violence. That's that's not even that's a confidentiality thing. So you do your shift, whatever it might be, and then you go into Blackboard. So what we're going to do is I'm going to set up every week. I'm going to start it the week of August 27th, and I'm going to end them on Sunday like we normally do with all the classes there. So I'll go from 8/27 until whatever the date is in September, and every single week due on a Sunday night, 11:59. Whether you work or not, you're going to put something in that entry. You can just put, if you didn't work, I did not work this week from, let's say, September 5th through September 12th. But you have to put something in there. If you did work, then you're going to put something like, today I went out with Officer Smith on the second shift from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. We stopped 3 motor vehicles. We went to a crash. We went to a domestic. And this is what I learned from it. These are the points that I gleaned. There's a good word for you, right? That you learned and you got from. So because you're going to basically be taking what we've been telling you with your classes, with lectures, with reading the book, with your experiences, and you're going to put it all together and you're going to see it in real life. And this is where hopefully it makes a lot of sense. And you say, this is the job for me, or not, as we said. So every time you do an entry, I highly, highly recommend printing it out and putting it in a notebook. And on the bottom of page 7, we have here the midterm evaluation. It just talks about the midterm evaluation, I should say. And if you look at it, it talks about saying that coordinators may, during the 8th week of the semester, and that's no later than October 30th, 2019, you have to complete a midterm evaluation, and no later than Thursday, December 5th, 2019, you have to complete a final evaluation. Now, you don't do the evaluation, obviously. The agency head or whoever you're working with does it. For example, if you're with the Torrington Police Department, Detective Kevin Tiemann would be filling this out. It's your job to get him or her, whoever you're working with, the copy of the evaluation. And you could do one of two things with this. It's going to be either double-sided or 2 pages. Actually, it's going to be 3 pages. Hand that over to them. Make it easy for them. Remember, you're the guest. You got to make it easy because they're spending their time on this, so keep that in mind. And you say, can you please fill this out? And they could either mail it to me because my name and address is on the bottom along with my email. They could scan and email it, or they can give it back to you. If they don't want you to see it, then they send it to me. If they don't care they don't mind, I should say, that you see it, then they're going to hand it back to you and say, can you give this to your instructor? And that's what you do. So the midterm evaluation and the final evaluation are basically, they're the same exact thing, and I'll go over it when we get to it. But I just want you to know. And on the last page is all these requirements that you're going to need to complete this course. The next one, which is on page 8, is going to be your final paper. And I get a lot of students that really get nervous about this, but honestly, if you make good solid entries and reflection pieces in your essays every week, this will be a piece of cake. So what we're going to be doing is it's going to be 8 typed pages at the end, due no later than December 5th, double spaced. I'm telling you, this is a piece of cake. Cover page has the college, name of the course, etc. And then you're going to do the 8 pages. And then I'm just going to read this to you. It's going to say, the first 2 pages are going to say something like, when I joined we're going to stick with Torrington. When I joined the Torrington Police Department for the internship, I didn't know what to expect. I thought, police officers were going to be rude and obnoxious, and maybe they were. Or you can basically put in what your perceptions were initially, and then afterward, how they turned out, and how the fact that, it's a reflection piece. The fact that you liked it, you didn't like it, you were pleasantly surprised, whatever the case may be. Again, you and I are the only ones that are going to be reading this. And so you're going to be talking about the functions that you performed is the word I'm trying to use. Again, I'm going to stick with Torrington because that's, the best one that I know. The utopian world, the perfect example is this. You go in as a candidate with Detective Kevin Tiemann, and he does a background check, does your confidentiality statements, and fills out all these forms and interviews you. If you're a good fit, he'll take you, and of course he's going to call me for a recommendation. And so, you got to play the part type of deal. You got to do your duty and do your diligence. And from that point on, he's going to try to place you and you to experience every little piece of the police department. For example, if you go from all aspects of the police department. One of them is Litchfield County Dispatch. Hopefully you could spend a couple of shifts in there. There's civilian dispatchers over on Water Street, 111 Water Street in Torrington, and they are housed in the fire department, one phase of the fire department, and you get to see where all the 911 calls and the dispatching happens. Then you might go with the school resource officer at the Torrington Middle School and the Torrington High School. Then you might go with the records department, and I'll just kind of like rip off some of the agencies there. Community policing with Rob Simon, who's currently assigned there. Maybe spend some time with one of the supervisors. Go visit the chief. We have a new chief, Chief William Baldwin. Excellent. We don't have a deputy chief anymore, but maybe in the future. But you would visit the detective bureau. You'd visit the training division, and then of course the 3 shifts. The day shift, which runs from 7:30 in the morning until 4 p.m. The evening shift that runs from 3:30 p.m. until midnight, and then the midnight shift, 11:30 p.m. until 8 a.m. So maybe you'll spend some time with animal control. You may or may not be able to work with K9. You may not be able to work with the SWAT team, which is CERT, Special Emergency Response Team. And so hopefully you get the idea with that. You're going to, again, we're still on the first 2 pages where you're going to say, I did this, 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 and this, and a little bit about it, and your perceptions. It's basically opinion, the first couple pages. And then you're going to identify 5 criminal justice concepts. And these kind of trip up some of our students, but for instance, you're going to compare what you learned in the class or lecture in the book and what you actually saw in real life. For example, we maybe talk about drug addiction. I brought you at Police in the Community to the McCall Foundation, we used to call it. It's McCall Center for Mental Health, I believe it is. And that's in Torrington. and you read about this. We read about heroin addiction, opioid addiction. But maybe when you went with a ride-along, you actually saw somebody get brought back to life with Narcan. They OD'd on heroin, and Narcan was administered, and it's like absolutely magic at how it works and brings people back to life. So that could be a concept that, I read about addiction. I never realized the depth of the opioid epidemic in Connecticut and nationwide. And we went to McCall's in our class, but I actually saw it. I actually experienced what the ambulance people did. I actually saw what the officers did, how they're carrying Narcan. That could be one concept. Another one might be a supervisor with an authoritarian approach versus a participative or democratic approach. You might see some supervisors that are, rule with the iron fist, and you might see others that say, oh, what do you think we should do? And that's a participatory, where they ask everybody and then ultimately they make the decision. Again, we learn about these topics in police, not police in the community, police organization and administration, and we read about it, but you might actually get to see that in person. And that could be another concept that you can talk about. So you do 5 of those concepts. Motor vehicle stops, it could be victimization, it could be criminal law, could be gangs, things along those lines. As we get closer, I'm sure that you're going to reach out to me and ask me about this, which is not a problem, and I'll give you some more examples on it, but I just wanted to talk about it. All right, so that copy of your 8-page report is not due till the end of the semester, and the absolute deadline is December 5th, 2019. And we're still on page, and this goes quicker in a minute, so just bear with me. We're in 20 minutes here. Still on page 8. Appropriate dress is all required. No jeans, no t-shirts, no sweatshirts, no hoodies, no sneakers. Dress the part. Business casual. Having said that, if you're going in one day and you're going to, let's say, the range to shoot or watch the guy shoot, or, hey, can you help the evidence officer clean out some lockers or whatever, and they say, wear your junky clothes or something along those lines, then that's the only time that that's okay to wear things like that. But otherwise, business casual, please. Be punctual. Tardiness and absences will leave a negative impression on your agency supervisor. Remember, you're being evaluated. So I always tell the story of this. I had, when I was running the detective division, we had 2 interns, and one of the interns, it was a young lady. It was very, very nice. I think she went to one of the colleges down on the shore, and we took her in. Even though she wasn't from Torrington, she says, I really need the internship. I'm interested in detective division, and I want to learn from it and participate. And, we're willing to help out people that want to help themselves. So she came 2-3 times, and she was supposed to come probably 20 times to get her hours in. And the 3rd time, she would call and say, oh, I'm running late. I hit traffic, whatever. Okay, 1 time's not a problem. The next time, she called an hour after she was supposed to be there and said, oh, I just woke up. And then the 3rd time, she didn't call at all. And then I ended up calling, and I said, what's going on? And she said, oh, I have to be there today. And then after that, we just told her, you know what, we're going to release you from the program. And, you're not taking this seriously. And you need to, when you're ready, maybe reapply. But there's a lot of people, there's a lot of time and energy that is spent putting into a candidate, an intern, and a lot of it has to do with giving back to the community, but also it's a recruiting mechanism to see if people are gonna kind of hit it out of the park or just be, I don't want to say a bum, but not a good fit for them. So play the part and again represent well, please. On to page 9. Having said all of that, if you do miss a day's assignment or something, you contact the agency first and tell them, my girlfriend, boyfriend, mom, dad, whatever loved one had surgery or whatever the case may be. Don't just automatically think that they're going to release you from it. Ask them, politely, and just, some things you can't control, but if you do it more than a few times, like I just said, it's going to be a problem. Remember that's 120 hours. And remember that 99.9% of the people I'm going to be talking with, I know personally. So they will call me. They have my cell phone. They kind of know where I live type of deal. They'll visit, call, and say, hey, Mike, this is what's going on with this student. What's up with this person? I'm going to find out. And, I'm just telling you so that you know that what the connections are. Okay. On page 9 still again. if medical coverage for any illness, accident, or injury. If anything happens where you get injured, hurt, an incident, some type of episode, or a problem, you need to contact me. You need to contact me. The longer you wait, the worse it gets. Before I became program coordinator and full time at Northwestern, there was a student who was basically being harassed by one of the officers, and she didn't tell me. She didn't tell actually the program coordinator at the time until 3 or 4 times into it, and then as soon as he found out, he pulled her out of the organization. So please let me know ahead of time. Don't let it fester type of deal. You need to be treated with mutual respect as well. Any problems, you let me know. Let's see. Okay, everything upon everything at the end, and I'll go over the list, is due December 5th, 2019. All right, on to page 10. I promise you this will go quicker. Failure to comply with any of these requirements may cancel your pending practicum assignment, leading to possible withdrawal or reduction in grade or a failure. Withdrawal or a failure may impede your student graduation in a timely manner, like I was telling you before. You must receive a minimum of a C for this course, this 3-credit course that you're going to register. CJS291, Criminal Justice Practicum. All right, here is some feedback from some of these organizations, Police Department, Probation, all of them that we were saying. Not every one of them, but they're same common denominators. Number 1, do not use their computer to check or access your personal emails, to go on to social media, or whatever the case may be. Even if they say, you can do whatever you want on this computer, that's their computer, I wouldn't mess with it. Number 2, do not make personal phone calls while on duty. Don't make personal phone calls with the organization's phone or your cell phone unless they tell you it's okay to do so, or if you're on a break or something. Be mindful of that. And if there's one pet peeve for a lot of these organizations, it's when they're trying to tell you or teach you something, you pull out your cell phone. So make sure it's on vibe. If there's an issue with, again, let's use the example of somebody's having surgery or whatever, and you might say to them, hey, do you mind if I leave my phone on vibe or ring because I'm waiting for a call from the hospital, or whatever the case may be. But chances are, if that's the case, then you may not be there at all. So just, again, be respectful. Be respectful. And then, it says do not engage in text messages while on duty. We had a code 3 call where that means lights and sirens with Torrington Police, and the student was texting and posting stuff on social media, which is a huge no-no. Oh, I'm going to a big fight in progress over on Water Street and blah, blah, blah. And, you're not going to be taking pictures of the events as well. So, keep the cell phones down, the texting. If you're on break, that's one thing. Confidentiality and the whole 9. Okay. So that's going to cover that. Okay. Now it goes quicker. Here we go. Page 11 talks about the course overview. It has the course objectives and some suggestive reading. Page 12 has the college policies. Understand that we do have a sexual assault and intimate partner violence resource team, which I am on. If there's any problem with, if you're a victim or someone that's a student or a faculty or staff member, please let us know. Also on page 13, something we added last year, something called basic needs security. This is your part for your going through for your syllabus here. Northwestern has a food bank, food for thought it's called. Northwestern has the ability, if you're short on rent and you're struggling, or there's something going on with your car, you can go to Dr. Ruth Gonzalez and ask for possibly a supplement. You got to fill out an application and kind of show what your hardship is, and they'll take into account if they can help you or not. So we understand that life does get in the way. We understand sometimes it's hard to make ends meet, so we're here to help. You just got to ask. You can ask me. Dr. Ruth Gonzalez does the application, and we could take it from there. All right, we're on page 14. This is a biggie, page 14. Attendance, obviously, you have to attend, or what's the purpose of going to these places here? And the grading policy is as follows. If you look here, attendance and participation. So you not only have to attend, but you have to participate, and that evaluation is going to have a lot to do with that. It's going to be 20% of your grade. The employer evaluation, the mid-semester, which is due no later than October 30th. If you think about this, if Halloween comes and goes, you're late on the midterm evaluation. That's your point there. So I wrote that twice. I'm going to have to do that. No, I understand what I did here. Midterm evaluations were 10%, and it's due on 10/30. That's what I did. I didn't write it twice. So final evaluation, that's worth 10%, and that's due on 12/5. That's your absolute deadline. And then journal entries is going to be the crux of it. Your journal entry is going to be via Blackboard. That's going to be your essays. That's 30% of what you're going to need for your reflections piece. What you did during that day, what you learned, and again, that kind of leads into your 8-page paper at the end, and that's your final report. That's your 8-page paper, 25%, and then there's something called the student learning assessment where it's 5%. So the total is 100% based on those criteria. All right. Now listen, I know I'm going kind of quick over this, and you're not going to be able to ask questions, but you know what my phone number is, 860-309-0028. If you want to text or call, I will be available for you and get back in a timely manner. If you want to email me, it's memanuel@nwcc.edu. So that's memanuel@nwcc.edu is my email. And this fine form is the midterm evaluation. So there's going to be a rating scale. You're going to give a copy of this to the whoever is in charge and whoever wants to fill this out at the organization. It's going to have your name, the semester, what was your attendance, what was your appearance. I'm trying to read backwards here. What your writing rating and communication rating and interaction with public if you had any. And then at the end, I'm going to get rid of this. That's page 15 and 16. Page 17 talks about, is the third page of the midterm evaluation. It said, did the student demonstrate good judgment? Some may be an NA. Some will say, yes, they need more time. And here's the part where if they want to mail it, they can mail it to me here. You can put these 3 pages in an envelope. Once they sign, date, whoever evaluates it, throw it in the mail. Or if they want to give it to you, whatever's easier for them or what they're comfortable for. So remember, the final evaluation and the midterm evaluation, although it looks a little bit different, it's actually the same exact thing. It's the same exact thing. All right, so those go through pages 18, 19, 20. All right, you got the crux of it, so we're in the home stretch here. So page 21 talks about, this is what you have to do for your, at the end, December 5th. Your student learning assessment, where it's 5% of your grade here. What did you observe? What skills did you have? Did you learn? It's pretty much self-explanatory. You won't probably read it now anyway. That's page 21 and 22. You have to fill that out and turn it in. If you type it or scan it, it's probably going to be better, but you can write it in as long as it's neat. This is a sample of your journal, which is page 23. It's basically what you learned. And then at the end, this is what you're going to do. You're going to, on every single, I'm going to change this e-portfolio to journal entry. On every entry for your essay, it's going to have your name, your day of work, your hours, the date, and what you did. And then you're going to basically say when the next time is you're going to be working. Another thing you're going to do is send me a schedule. All right. You could write it out. You could use this one that I have here on page 25. But however you do it, I need to get it so I know where you are. I'm responsible for you. The school's liable for you. The whole nine. So if you look through that, you'll understand what that is. Page 27 kind of talks about the same thing. The journal. I call it a journal. I'm going to call it a journal essay. I'll retype that. And this is what you're going to do before you start. You got to fill out this application. Don't worry if you're signed up for it and you forget about it. I will find you and you will. I'll have you fill that out or leave it for you. I'll get a hold of you, meet in a coffee shop or something. On page 29 is demographics information. This is optional if you want to put who you are and I'd like to know if there's any disability that would be, bar you from any of these things. And another thing you got to fill out before is a statement of understanding. So basically, where you live. It's just information I can get off the computer. It's just much easier to have your email and your phone number here and your student ID so that I can contact you kind of on a moment's notice for safety issues and many other things. So the rest of it is things I'm going to get together with you once you get your feet on the ground of where you're going. Site agreement, statement of understanding, and one of the things I'm going to ask you for at the end that you probably will forget is this. This is an agency overview. We'll do this at the end, so don't worry about too much about it right now. How do they get money? How many people work there? And what's the mission statement? And then this baby is not the last page, but the only page before the last ending pages that matter, the checklist. I will find you for this, but you can give me the student application if you do it first. Statement of understanding is going to say, all right, yeah, I'm applying at this place, and I understand what I have to do, and I'm going to give you, the student's going to give me a work schedule and the site agreement. You're going to turn in a midterm evaluation by, these are all going to happen at the beginning of the semester. The midterm evaluation is due before Halloween, remember. Agency overview we just talked about. Final evaluation, that's due at the end of the semester, no later than December 5th, and then the student learning assessment. Final paper, 12/5. And then you have to do a thank you letter and your resume. And then I have to have the whole completed manual by 12/5. And that's what basically is going to constitute this whole thing here. And I'm looking at this recording and it says 36 minutes and 32 seconds. If that's the case, then you guys got off easy. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions. So once again, remember, it's Professor Mike Emanuel from Northwestern Community College. If you're watching this, chances are you already know that. Phone number 860-309-0028. You can text or call me. It does not matter if it's after May or during the summer. I will answer your call because we need to get this done, and I will be checking in with you. So hopefully you got a good feeling of what's kind of expected. If you have questions, contact me, and the email again is memanuel@nwcc.edu. That's spelled MEMANUEL at N as in Nancy, W as in whiskey, cc.edu. So thank you very much for your attention, and we got this thing done before 38 minutes. Imagine that. Shorter than a class. Okay, give me a call if you have any questions or problems. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye-bye.